You see that guy? That's Chris Kyle, the deadliest sniper in U.S. military history. And right now, he's got 2,000 thoughts in his head, but only one shot to make. This ain't Call of Duty, buddy. This is Iraq, 2003, where every corner could be your last, and your legacy is built one kill at a time. But who really was? Chris Kyle? Hero? Myth? Or just a Texan with a gun and a god complex? Buckle up, we're diving into one hell of a war story. Before Chris Kyle was the legend, he was just a rough little Texas kid with a rifle that probably cost more than his dad's truck. His dad's not exactly the participation trophy type either. He's got this whole speech about there are three kinds of people: sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs. Fast forward a decade, and Chris is living the cowboy dream, rodeo gigs, beer, big belt buckles, and probably more concussions than he'd admit. It's wild, it's dusty, it's America, baby. But that dream ends with a hard fall. Literally, dude gets wrecked off a bull and suddenly starts rethinking his life choices. Maybe getting trampled for fun isn't a long-term career strategy. Then, boom, news hits of the 1998 U.S. Embassy bombings in Africa. You can almost see the switch flip in his brain. Screw this, I'm joining the military. And just like that, Cowboy Chris hangs up his spurs and starts training to be America's most lethal sheepdog. In the aftermath of heartbreak, Chris Kyle finds a new purpose, one far more dangerous than any rodeo could offer. A smoky bar, country music humming in the background. Chris leans on the counter, the image of a man who's been through wars long before the battlefield. Taya, confident, sharp-tongued, uninterested in cowboy types. She makes a joke about Navy SEALs being arrogant. Chris smirks. That's because we are. He doesn't defend himself with words. He defends with presence. Taya is amused, then surprised. There's a calmness in Chris that disarms her. One beer becomes two. Jokes become confessions. Chris may have just met Taya, but their chemistry? Instant. She's not the kind of girl to fall for cowboy charm or stories, but something about Chris feels different. One date turns into two turns into weekends. And before you know it, Chris is bringing her to rodeos, sharing beer, and opening up about life. The guy who could barely open his heart to anyone is slowly letting her in. And then boom, the world changed. Chris and Taya are just living their early love story when the bar TV lights up with smoke and steel. Planes slam into the World Trade Center. The camera pans over a modest ceremony. Chris, in his suit, they've made it. Against all odds, they're now husband and wife. But just as the confetti settles, the phone rings. Orders have come in. Chris Kyle's first mission in Iraq? Nothing fancy, just your classic perch on a rooftop and shoot people assignment. No pressure. Just the lives of an entire convoy resting on the guy with the rifle and the mustache. As Chris scopes the dusty street below, a young boy appears innocent looking, probably no older than 10. The boy walks toward the convoy, clutching a live grenade handed by his own mother. Seriously, Mom of the Year material right there. Chris does what he's trained to do. He pulls the trigger. Then the mother grabs the grenade. One more shot. 2 lives gone. Convoy saved. Welcome to Iraq, sniper. And from that moment on, Chris is never quite the same. His trigger may be steady, but his mind? Not so much. But the war wasn't over yet. On the next mission, Chris continued acting as a long-range guardian for his brothers on the ground, and every shot he took hit its mark. His role had shifted. No longer just a SEAL sniper, he had become a guardian angel, someone the Marines trusted with their lives. Every time they stepped into a building or crossed a street, they knew someone was watching over them. Back at the base, Chris joins a tense briefing at the command center. Intelligence reports confirm that the Butcher, one of Al-Qaeda's most brutal enforcers, is hiding in the vicinity. He's not just a high-value target, he's a sadistic killer feared even by civilians. Chris listens closely. The mission is clear: eliminate the Butcher before he can strike again. On the next moment, Chris kicks the door open like he's auditioning for a cowboy remake of Call of Duty, Baghdad Edition. The room reeks of fear, sweat, and probably yesterday's kebab. The husband of the homeowner explained that they could work together because the man had also been a victim. His wife's hand was cut off, and she was missing as long as America could provide them with protection. Chris agreed, and then Chris asked for further authority to protect the family, and then they agreed to show the Butcher. Just when Chris thought he was finally going to nab the infamous Butcher, the guy who's been making things go south real fast. Sniper fire out of nowhere. Yeah, because apparently Iraq comes with bonus levels. Everyone scrambles. Chaos. And then it happens. The Butcher, in all his sick glory, grabs a young Iraqi boy and, brace yourself, drills a freaking power tool right into his head. In broad daylight. While Chris watches through the scope, helpless. The boy doesn't make it. Neither does the dad. And Chris? He's shattered. Back home, things were supposed to be quieter. But nope. Welcome to the American version of relaxation. His wife Taya is about to pop. She's heavily pregnant, walking around like a ticking baby bomb. Chris goes to the doctor. Just a routine checkup. And boom. Turns out his blood pressure is through the roof. Surprise, surprise. His son launched at that very moment also. He misses the birth of their first child. Something about being stuck in traffic. Or maybe stuck between PTSD and denial. Either way, the baby comes into the world, and Chris holds him like he's holding a ticking grenade. His eyes say, "I love you." But his soul? Still stuck in Fallujah. So Chris is back in Iraq. Again. Because apparently one tour in hell wasn't quite enough. This time, the stakes are higher. The Butcher is still out there, snipping off limbs like he's running a discount butcher shop. And now, there's a new ghost in town, Mustafa. A Syrian sniper with Olympic aim and a flair for dramatic kill shots. At that night, Chris and the boys roll up to a local house. Not for a fight this time, but a little neighborly recon. You know, just American soldiers doing casual counter-sniper ops with a side of hospitality. They're greeted by a seemingly friendly Iraqi man who invites them in like it's Thanksgiving dinner. Everyone's offered food, smiles are exchanged, and for a brief moment, it almost feels like a peace treaty was signed over a bowl of lamb stew. But then, Chris notices something weird. This guy's elbow. So he snoops around the house and bingo. Weapons, ammo, a freaking Taliban starter pack. Chris pins the guy down like it's a rodeo event, stares him dead in the eye, and gives him two options. Lead us to the Butcher's hangout, or enjoy the hospitality of an American prison cell with no hummus. And guess what? The guy talks. So now it's game time. The team moves in on the restaurant where the Butcher's hiding out, and suddenly, it's bullets and chaos. Chris and the SEALs turn the diner into a fireworks show. No menus, just live rounds and shattered windows. And just like that poof, the Butcher pulls his classic vanishing act. Despite the bullets, the blood, and the perfectly good element of surprise, Chris and the team came up empty-handed. Chris becomes a dad. Again. Another baby. Another moment he misses emotionally, if not physically. Taya, glowing with exhaustion and disappointment, tries to reach the man she married, not the soldier with a 1,000-yard stare sitting beside her. She tells him, "I need you here, not just your body, but you." But Chris? He's already halfway back to the battlefield, mentally packed and locked in. His reply is silence, maybe a nod. No promises, no comfort. And just like that, he's out the door again. One foot in Texas, the other still knee-deep in Fallujah. On a rooftop under the blazing sun, Chris and his team let their guard down for just a second, and it cost them. One of their own gets shot. Sniper. Clean. Brutal. The grief hits hard. There's no room for tears, only rage. Fueled by emotion and the need to make it right, they charge in, guns blazing, hearts burning. They came back for revenge. But revenge doesn't go as planned. Instead of taking out the enemy, they lose Mark, one of the good ones, a brother. Mark's body comes home in a flag-draped coffin, and back on American soil, the pain follows. At the funeral, silence says everything. No speeches, no glory, just loss. Taya pleads again, "Don't go back." But Chris, he's already gone, eyes fixed on the desert. One more tour, one last shot, one final mission that might finally bring him peace, or break him for good. Final briefing. And it's Mustafa again, the elusive Olympic medalist turned enemy nightmare, still playing peekaboo with American soldiers. Intel says he's setting up another ambush, another funeral if they don't act. They deploy into He City. Every rooftop feels like it's watching, each shadow a maybe, until there, a flicker. A man sets up his rifle nearly 2,100 yards away. It's him, Mustafa. Chris lays down, scope ready. He doesn't breathe. He calculates. Wind, drop. Time. One shot. Then, a body crumples. Mustafa is no more. The phantom, the myth, turned into a corpse by a man who never blinks. But oh, surprise. The shot that killed the ghost also screamed, "Hey, we're over here." Now the real party starts. Gunfire erupts like it's the 4th of July. Every corner spits bullets. No parade, no cheers, just chaos. Chris and the team are pinned, scrambling, choking on dust and lead. Because in war, even when you win, you're still not done running for your life. Chris finally came home. His body was intact, but his soul, full of holes no one could see. To the world, he was a hero. But inside the house, he was more like a ghost. Silent, distant, trapped in a war zone he couldn't leave. His kids played, his wife smiled. But to Chris, laughter sounded like gunfire. A slammed door felt like a bomb. And silence? That was the scariest sound of all. Taya, his wife, tried to reach him. But how do you hold someone whose soul is still thousands of miles away? He eventually tried therapy, not with words, but with action. Chris started helping other veterans, men who knew what it was like to live between life and death. He took them to the shooting range, showed them they could still have control, still aim at something real, not ghosts from the past. And for a moment, Chris looked human again. He smiled. He joked. Taya even believed maybe this time he really was home. Then that day came, a regular day, clear skies. Chris said he was going to meet a vet who needed help. Just another training session, he said. But Chris never came back. The man he tried to help took his life instead, not on a battlefield, not by an enemy of the state, but by a fellow soldier haunted by the same demons. The cruelest irony. Chris Kyle, the legend who survived countless firefights, was killed on his own soil by the very hand he tried to save.